WEF representing Palace, so let's tell you about Palace. Rolling straight to the ceiling, crowns and crystals, top like journeys, dishing out malice. Hold up, South London's grandest, far from bandits. Anything earned for a goal of elevation, just passing the team over here might finish out. Bright future, we can't vanish. SE25 any day, that's sellers. Rev up the engines, no more reverse reactions. Fan cams, bands on stream. Share up the team, support the dream team when eagles fly, make noise and scheme. Dare to dream or dream to dare, taking a step to become supreme.
Yes, guys, welcome back to the final episode of Transfer Weekly in this summer transfer window. This will be episode 13 of Transfer Weekly, and because this is the last time we're doing Transfer Weekly in video format, this will be a little bit longer of a video. Bearing in mind, when this video comes out, there will be only 4 days left in this transfer window, so it's going to be an extremely busy time for Crystal Palace. I'm not going to lie to you guys. Obviously, I think we need about 4 players. We definitely need a left-footed, right-sided player. And I think we need about 4 in total, you know. Centre-backs, big issue. Cover full-back. Maybe a striker as well, because Edouard's not really been doing it lately. And obviously another number 10 on that right side. So what do? We need to get bodies in at this point. I think that the point has gone really for where we need to look at quality over quantity. And now I think we need to look at it the other way around, quantity over quality, just to have more options and to give Oliver Glasner more chance of keeping Palace actually in the Premier League after seeing what we've done so far. But I'm sure we'll be fine. I'm sure it's just a rough blip in the road, but we need bodies in or we're actually going to be in trouble this season. Right, let's get on to the updates. Maxence Lacroix has been completely left out of Wolfsburg game last night against Bayern Munich. Whether this was through injury or through Wolfsburg not wanting to risk him getting injured properly because they are thinking of moving him on to Crystal Palace, we will never know about this. However, Bobby Manzi has reported that Crystal Palace will look to increase their bid for Maxence Lacroix over the coming days as they're looking to bring in reinforcements at centre-back. The reported price is about £17 million. Honestly, at this point in the window, this late in the window, I think we just got to pay it really. And also, if you really think about 17 million for someone of his quality, if he had 2 years left on his deal, you could double that easily. So even though it's got 1 year left on his deal, I think 17 million pounds is a very good asking price. Robin Gosens, the Union Berlin manager Bo Svensson was asked if Gosens was staying, and basically, long story short, you can read it up here, but basically, long story short, he said that he's an important player for us, he's got a long contract, and to me, that tells me that he's basically saying he's not going anywhere unless Crystal Palace pay the money because he's got that long contract. And for someone to be a backup, I don't see Crystal Palace paying that much money for a backup. Mark Gay. Newcastle's apparently getting closer to our valuation in Mark. And obviously, as the window's coming to a close and they haven't got another centre-back in yet, they are stepping up their interest. The reports from Mike McGrath are saying that Newcastle are only £5 million away from Crystal Palace's asking price. However, at this point, they're probably going to pay that extra 5, but seeing what we've done and the outgoings we've already done, I don't think that we can sell Mark even at this point. Even if they hit that valuation, we don't have enough time to get someone else in. We have to keep Mark. And right now, he needs to sign a new contract, because if he doesn't sign a new contract and he goes for a lot cheaper next year, probably about 30 million because he's only got 1 year left on his deal, then we're going to look like idiots. And in that case, it'll probably be a better case scenario if we actually sold Mark now for a little bit less, maybe 65, 60, and kept Anderson and Ayew, because that probably would have disrupted the team less. And also, if Mark doesn't sign that deal, keeping Anderson and Ayew instead of selling them would have been the better case scenario. But I really hope we can get him to sign that deal. And if he doesn't, we have just royally screwed ourselves. Franco Ume, with a promising pre-season with the first team, he has had quite a bit of game time with the first team in pre-season. But it looks like because we're looking at all these left wing back covers, I don't think that Franco is going to get his chance in the first team, unfortunately. We're looking at Gosens, we're looking at Kostic, so I don't think he's going to get that chance he needs. But we are allowing him to go out on loan, and there are a championship club and some clubs throughout Europe. The specific clubs are unknown to us at this moment in time. Killian Phillips has joined St Mirren on a season-long loan. I hope this is a good move for him. I think he'll do well there. You know, he's had a few pretty successful loans. I would have thought he would have moved up a step or two, but let's see how it goes for him. Eberechi Eze. Liverpool have been long-time admirers of Eze, and there are reports that they're looking to move on Eze in the last few days of this transfer window. There are some rumours there are some reports for them not going in for him. But what I would say is that Liverpool have been looking at this guy for quite a while now. Whether they move or not, it really depends. But after what has happened with Palace, how the manager doesn't seem to be too happy, how we're selling players left, right and centre, you never know. They could come in with an offer and we could actually accept it. It could be a bit stupid, but you never know these days. And also, if his head is gone, his mate Elise is gone, he's trying to do everything on his own. He's trying to do superhero football. It's just not working out. So do you think he might force a move now? We'll never know. But up until now, Eze hasn't made any fusses about wanting to go or doing anything or being frustrated at Crystal Palace. So we thank him for that. And also, Bobby Manzi did report last week that Eze's release clause has now expired. So whatever Liverpool want to pay for him, they can't pay £60 million anymore. They have to pay exactly what Palace want. And we can charge whatever we want for him because he's still got 4 years left on his contract. So we could theoretically ask for over £100 million if we really wanted to. Carney Chukwuemeka. Palace are interested in signing Carney, but the price is just too high. They're looking at like £40 million still. But because his wages are really high as well, we're definitely not going to pay that kind of money for someone that's that injury prone. But we are still interested, and there is a possibility of Crystal Palace coming back for a loan move or potentially a loan with an option to buy, because we don't want to do a loan with an obligation to buy purely because of his injury record. Eddie Nketiah, obviously I haven't spoken about him that much or at all in this transfer weekly series, but he's going to feature in the updates part because I've seemed to have spoken about this guy for the last 3-4 years consistently, every single transfer window. So really, we all know what Eddie Nketiah is already about. But a quick rundown, he is a little bit shorter than our current strikers. He does offer something a little bit different. He does like to run in behind. He is pretty bow-footed. He's good with his head as well. And, you know, he has played for one of the biggest teams in the UK. So he has got that experience of being at a big club, you know, that big club expectation. So he has got that on his side. But the only stumbling block of it is that obviously he's getting a little bit older now. He's currently on £100,000 a week contract, which Crystal Palace are not willing to match. And also Arsenal have just asked for silly money for him. Like a few years ago when he literally just broke into the first team, they were asking £20 million, and that's just too much. And even now they ask for £30 million, and I still don't think he's worth that kind of money. We're at such a bad situation right now that we're going to have to start overpaying for people. And granted, as I said earlier, we have to get quantity over quality now. And if that does mean Eddie Nketiah for 30 million, it might mean Nketiah for 30 million, even though I'm not really excited for that. I know it's too much money, but it is what it is. We can't really complain at this point. Nottingham Forest look like the main suitors for Nketiah to go to, but that has broken down. But ever since that happened, Palace have rejoined the race to sign him after Forest have pulled out. He seems to be interested in joining Crystal Palace, obviously because we've been interested in him for quite a while now, and we're still in London. Overall, I think Nketiah would be good. Something a little bit different. Dougie's wanted him for a good while. He is a good player, but he's just not £30 million worth of player. But we might have to pay £30 million just to get him. Finally, with the updates, Mr. Oliver Glasner. So obviously, this isn't something we want to hear because we know from Oliver Glasner, he's very vocal about things that he's not happy with, things that he is happy with. And he said that he's not happy with the summer outgoings, with Anderson and Ayew leaving a day before a game. Also, the quality of those players as well. Granted, it's good for business, but for the team, it's completely unsettled it. You know, Anderson and Ayew played pretty much every minute of every game in pre-season. They're big parts of how we play football, like these long passes to get us out at the back. That has been a staple of Crystal Palace ever since Anderson joined, and now it's just all gone and there's no replacement for it. Glasner at the end of the game in his press conference said that there's noise in and outside of the club, and he was referencing that there was noise in the change room. Maybe people were talking, maybe players saying, "Oh, I don't really want to play here," this and that in a change room before a game, and that's not good. It's really not good. We were the most feared team at the end of last season, and now people are leaving left, right, and centre, and no one wants to come to us either. So it's a bit disheartening, really. And Glasner's probably the best manager we've had in the Premier League since we've come up, and also we have to back him because we can see what he can do. We have to back him. We have to give him the players that he needs. Dougie has to help him out and say, look, Kamada may or may not be it, but this guy, I know he's good. This guy we've scouted for a while. So those two need to work together, and they need to build something again, because we've seen it with Glasner before. If he doesn't get what he wants, he doesn't think the team's good enough, he will walk. And I really hope he doesn't. We need to back him so he can stay at this club. All right, let's get into the players.
Thomas Araujo. He is a young Benfica defender who we actually did put in a bid for 30 million euros, which is about 25 million pounds. And to be honest, I've done some digging on him and I can see why we've done it. From the clips that I've seen on Twitter, he's extremely press resistant, extremely good on the ball, very much a type of Glasner type defender who that type of defender needs to be comfortable on the ball. They need to be able to take the ball into the middle third and play a good ball as well, and be able to play good passes through lines of pressure. It got turned down, the bid. There is a release clause of about 100 million euros, but to be honest, as far as I'm aware, Portugal, they have to have release clauses in their contracts, and normally it is some silly kind of number. So I wouldn't really read too much into that. But anyways, I've actually got some stats up here for you, and that kind of backs up the ball playing, press resistant centre back that he is. So this is over the last year, so over the last 365 days. And it's compared to similar competition. So because he plays in the Primera Liga, it means that it will be in comparison to other leagues like the Eredivisie and places like that. So, for example, he actually ranks in the top 2% of all defenders in those similar competitions. For tackles, he makes 2.5 tackles per game. He's also very good in the air. He's in the top 12% for the amount of aerials that he does win. And as a percentage, that actually ends up being 73%. So that would be higher than any of our defenders. It is worth noting that he does play for Benfica. So obviously the fact that his tackles is so high is actually very impressive, because Benfica keep the ball a lot of time, and obviously if you keep the ball, then you can't tackle the opposition. But also interestingly, he ranks in the top 8% for the amount of progressive passes made per game. He makes 5.43, and also in the top 13% for progressive carries. A carry is just like a dribble, with just over 1 per game. In terms of that as a percentage, his take on percentage is 50% this season, but then he's only attempted 2 so far. If you go back to his season when he was on loan at Gil Vicente, where he played about 20 games that season, it was about 50% on with 22 attempts. So I think that's pretty good, especially for a centre back. But yeah, I think that's the most, and I think if we were to sign him, I think we probably would play him. I mean, I think he could play either the central centre-back position like Anderson did, or he could play on that right side. Obviously, the right side is a bit more attacking, but then we did also see Anderson do a lot of attacking as well. And when someone like Araujo making 1.45 shot creating actions per game, which is a top 6% of defenders in those similar leagues, then, you know, he's clearly a threat. And I would absolutely love to have him at Palace. Anyways, enjoy the rest of the video and have a good day.
Rak-Sakyi. Now, the French under-21 international who just recently obviously played in the Olympics. Well, lightly, he didn't get many minutes at all under Henry, but he's obviously linked with a move away from Lyon. Obviously, risen up through the Lyon ranks, through the youth team, and had a lot of suitors over the years at such a young age. He's 21 years old, and recently he's had the likes of PSG and Borussia Dortmund show interest in him. However, both parties have moved away. Now that obviously rings alarm bells, and the question is obviously, what is the reason why bigger clubs are not looking out for him? The recent news obviously has it that Fulham had a bid accepted by Lyon for 15 million plus 5 million add-ons, I believe, and he turned down the chance to go to Fulham. And granted, we are another club that are interested in this service. Let's talk about him more as a player. So, left-footed winger who can play in the 10, can play both sides, wing as well. Dribbling ability is phenomenal. Very, very close control. What he likes to do a lot is stand up his opponents, drop his shoulder, and obviously take the ball around them with his speed. I think a massive benefit as well with his dribbling is that he's actually quite well versed at going both ways. And you'll see, obviously, don't always take compilations as gospel, but he'll drop his shoulder one way and he could go either left side or right side, and he's not afraid to use both feet. You know, you'll see many attempts where he's used his right foot even though his left foot is a stronger foot. Now, that brings about the fact of balance for our team. And how would that help us going forward? He could effectively, and we're not going to say Elise replacement because you can't replace someone as great as Michael Elise, but he can bring attributes that can help Munoz and help the team going forward. And like I said, dribbling is one of those aspects, but there's also ability to, you know, get out of tight spaces, you know, use the use of his body, using his body as a shield. You know, the times he's been able to roll a player. Sometimes you see him nutmegging players for fun. you know, but his acceleration is a massive key factor that is very underrated in his game. You know, he has that ability to drive, and because he's got a low center of gravity, you know that any sort of touch, he could end up winning free kicks and even penalties further up the field. So the question is, would he be a good fit for us? And I think he will. I think he'll be a great fit for us. I think he'll bring that balance because I think all our tens are right-footed now. I think that's what's hindering Munoz's game. But I think he'll bring that balance, and obviously with the fee being at 15 million euros as it stands, potentially with add-ons, and Leon want to sell as well because they are in financial trouble. I think this is something we should do, something that will take us that next step forward. Obviously, the biggest question regarding Shirky is his somewhat attitude or ego. Why is it that other clubs have not gone in for him? But for me personally, I think he'll do great. Obviously, if you look at goals and assists, could have a bit of output, especially with his goals, but he does assist quite a bit, and I will tell you for free, he does create a lot of big chances, which a lot of his teammates are not converting. Mateta, Edward, sort it out. But yeah, personally, I would take him. £15 million, £15 million or €50 million, however it is. It's something I think will be beneficial for us, especially since we've got 4 days as of recording left of the window.
So Raheem Sterling and Crystal Palace, it's not exactly a link that you would say every day. And seeing as though his position at Chelsea is now untenable, with Enzo Maresca saying that in late August that he would struggle to find minutes for Sterling, and that now Pedro Neto, who recently signed, has now taken what was Sterling's number. Links are going to happen, and sensational reports linked him with Crystal Palace. So, what are the two main reasons why I don't think he would work in red and blue? Well, the first thing is that he's not young anymore. He's 29 years of age at time of recording. He isn't the player he used to be. Granted, he scores goals, but he's not used he's not used in a position that Oliver Glasner uses. Obviously, Glasner prefers to use Eze and Kamada as wide 10-like roles, which you could say could fit Sterling, but at the same time, when it comes to looking at the Crystal Palace squad, age is a factor. Crystal Palace are looking to build a younger squad as opposed to the days gone by when Palace's average age was highest amongst the 20 teams of the Premier League. Sterling's wages are going to be a problem as well. We're a team that cannot afford to be spending stupid amounts on wages, despite reports linking us with a highest earner contract with Mark Gahey, but that's because Gahey has been in this squad for a number of years. It's because he is a critical element of the squad. Sterling isn't going to be hitting the heights that he did so for Liverpool, for Manchester City, and for a short time for Chelsea. I mean, when it comes to Chelsea, 59 appearances in all competitions with 14 goals. His last major contribution to the England team was in the 2022 World Cup. So it's not as if he's on the highest shortlists for when it comes to international representation, which is where any England player would want to find themselves in. It's a changing football world. Sterling is going to be reaching the twilight years of his career, whereas Crystal Palace are looking to change that rhetoric in of itself. Palace want a younger squad, a hungry squad as well. Can we really say that Raheem Sterling and Crystal Palace are at a mutual level? Will we get the performances that we demand from Raheem Sterling? My heart says no, because he's won it all with Manchester City. He's won trophies with Chelsea. It's not a time where he can come to this Crystal Palace squad and inspire, perhaps? But is he going to get ahead of the likes of Ibera Eze, Daichi Kamada? It's going to be a no, because these two players have had the faith of the manager put into them. They've had a belief that this is the way forward, and to be pushed to the wayside by it has to be said, an aging winger who might be able to show a bit of flair and a bit of pace here and there. When it comes to a Crystal Palace squad that is likely to be getting smaller and smaller in the coming days towards the end of the transfer window. Raheem Sterling doesn't exactly inspire transfer glory. It's not a signing that can be said is going to steal the papers. The tabloids are not going to think that Crystal Palace have pulled off a transfer blinder. Would he fit into Glasner's system? No. What would be the benefits of Raheem Sterling? Experience. It has to be said, he's had a very, very long career. He knows what the Premier League demands, and he's played for 3 top teams of English football in recent memory. 3 European champions. That's nothing to shake your head about. But how much did he have to do with that? Very little, very little. So unfortunately with me and Raheem Sterling, it's not so much a transfer that we want to be going ahead with. But that's my thoughts. Back to you, JC.
Yes, guys, thank you very, very much for watching. Please put in the comments below what you think of these players, which ones that were covered today should we buy, which ones should we take a miss on, and who you want us to cover on deadline day, because I do think that we're going to have a pretty busy week these last 4 days, so we might actually have to cover quite a bit. So please remember to check out the shorts, because if something happens, we will have to cover it, and hopefully deadline day stream won't be as stressful as we think it will be. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching, and up the Palace. Eagles.